Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Rundown. I will be your host today, where we will talk about 2A news and conservative views. We're coming to you live from SHOT Show 2026. Having a good time out here in Las Vegas, Nevada. 26. Having a good time out here in Las Vegas, Nevada. Celebrating one of our favorite days of the week. That's right. We are going to be celebrating Taco Tuesday.
It's raining tacos from out of the sky. Tacos, no need to ask why. Just open your mouth and close your eyes. It's raining tacos.
It's raining tacos out in the street. Tacos, all you can eat. Lettuce and shells, cheese and meat. It's raining tacos. Yum, 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 yummity yum. It's like a dream. Yum, 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 yummity yum. Bring your sour cream.
That's right, folks. We're having a good time here on Taco Tuesday. Have not had tacos yet today. It's been kind of a busy day, but do plan on. I'm pretty sure. I think we're probably going to be doing sushi burritos today, so we might send out one a day while I'm here. But anyway, been dealing with some technical difficulties, having some issues with the Wi-Fi. With the internet connection. So if the show may go in and out, the show may go in and out, but just know that we are recording it for rebroadcast. At the hour after, so 4:00 and 7:00. If you want to watch it, you'll be able to find that over at Spotify. If you want to watch it there, if you want to watch the entire thing without any internet interruptions. Anyway, all that having been said, having a great time here. Let's go ahead and get into the news because we've actually got some very, very cool Second Amendment news to report. But before we do, let's go ahead and kick off with our sponsors. First, you have Hitman Industries. They make rifle and pistol caliber barrels available for you to purchase at any length. All you have to do is go to hitmanindustries.net. Then we've got the California Republican Assembly working to help elect conservatives at all level of government, from school board all the way up to President of the United States. Ronald Reagan once referred to CRA as the conscience of the Republican Party. Won't you please find out why? Visit them at cragop.org. That's cragop.org. Then we've got Hog Holsters, the best in concealed carry tactical holsters available on the market. Get your Hog Holster at hogholster.com. That's HAWG holster.com. Helping Americans wear guns. That's why the HAWG comes from. By the way, make sure you use discount code The Rundown, all caps, no spaces. Get your Hog Holster on discount today. Then we've got the folks over at uscombatgear.com, the place where you can find all things tactical except the gun. You want to check them out. Once again, uscombatgear.com. They specialize in group prices or group sales, so you want to check them out. They have a huge selection. They have the best customer service available on the market. So once again, get your group together, get your agency together, get your friends together. Go to uscombatgear.com, the place where you can find all things tactical except the gun. Just had someone walk up here, and I wouldn't do this, but since he is such a frequent commenter on the program, I want to have him just come over here. For those of you who are wondering, we're always saying hello to Patrick over at the Gun Food. This right here, this is Patrick over at the Gun Food. Patrick, say hi to everybody.
Hello, everybody.
There you go. So that's Patrick. You need to check him out, thegunfood.com.
Thegunfood.com.
.dot.com. There you go. That's where you want to go. Go there and get all your ammo needs met. Feed those guns with the Gun Food. Anyway, so there's a lot of stuff going on in the news right now. Gotta tell you, let's see here. Forgive me if I seem just a wee bit flustered, but once again, I'm getting used to the setup over here. Let's see. There we go. So big news is the Supreme Court is looking like we're going to have a really, really good shot at actually having California and Hawaii's sensitive places rules thrown out. Now, you might recall back in Bruin, Justice Thomas basically said, part of what he said in his ruling was, look, Yes, people have a right to carry a firearm and to possess a firearm outside of their home. In other words, your fundamental right to defend yourself, your right to keep and bear arms doesn't end at your front door. It doesn't end at your property line. It extends beyond that. But he put out a warning. He specifically told the courts, don't go out and make every place a sensitive place. Well, guess what? New York, California, and Hawaii. In fact, 5 states in total actually went out and wrote sensitive places, also wrote restrictions on concealed carry as to where you can carry a firearm. And it was really bad. They made it so you couldn't do it. You couldn't do it on public transportation. You couldn't do it in gatherings above, like I think, above a certain number of people. Public parks. You couldn't do it if you couldn't carry. And the main part, one of the things that really made it bad was you couldn't carry in a business, in a public place or a business, or even on private property, unless the owner of that property specifically in writing gave you permission, which basically meant that you couldn't carry anywhere unless there was a sign, unless they had a sign up. Well, it appears that is going to be on its way out. This being reported by the LA Times, and the reason why I'm making sure to point that out is because I want you to get the tenor of how they are reporting it. It says the Supreme Court seems likely to strike down California law banning guns in stores and restaurants, which, by the way, is a misnomer. That's not actually what it does. In their important things to know, it says California is among 5 states with new laws that forbid carrying guns into private places private places open to the public without consent of the owner or manager. In other words, prior. So in other words, you have to get the consent first. It has to be out there and in writing. It's not just presumed. So normally what happens is that you would say if they had a sign up saying no guns, then you could keep them out. This basically says, yeah, no, if there is no sign saying let them have guns, then then you can't carry. Anyway, let's see here. It says, do licensed gun owners have a right to carry a loaded weapon into stores, restaurants, and other private places that are open to the public? California and Hawaii are among 5 states with new laws that forbid carrying firearms into private property without the consent of an owner or manager. But the Trump administration joined gun rights advocates on Tuesday in urging the Supreme Court to strike down the laws as unconstitutional under the Second Amendment. Quote, such laws, quote, effectively nullifies licenses to carry in public, Trump's lawyers said, which is kind of a carrying when you cannot carry. Anyway, if you stop at a gasoline station, you're committing a crime. If you do not have the owner's consent, Deputy Solicitor General Sarah Harris told the court. An attorney representing Hawaii said the issue is one of property rights, not gun rights. An invitation to shop is not an invitation to bring your Glock. Washington attorney Neil Kate told the court. There is no constitutional right to assume that every invitation to enter a private property includes invitation to bring a gun. The justices sounded split along the usual ideological lines, with the court's conservatives signaling they were likely to strike down the new laws in 5 Democratic-led states. Now, here's the important thing to understand about this. Once again, they're making it out like, well, they're making it out like, well, these folks don't. How do I want to put this? They're making it out like, sorry, I'm up here showing you all this stuff. I'm trying to get me back up here. There we go. There it goes. Okay. So what they're doing is they're trying to say, well, you have to get permission from everybody. And that's not to say that if someone doesn't want guns in their establishment, they can put a sign up and say, sorry, no firearms allowed. They can do that. But this makes it preemptive or presumptive that they don't want the firearms there. And that's just, I'm sorry, but that's just wrong. That is going to be ruled as unconstitutional. So if a business owner wants to exercise their private property rights, they can say, yeah, no, we don't want them here. And they can turn people away, or at least turn away their guns. But what they can't do is it's not just assumed now. And that's what makes it really, really hard. to get people to understand is that when you carry concealed, right? When you have a concealed carrier, you take your firearm with you. So wherever you're at. So if every other place that I go to doesn't have a sign, then that means that I then have to leave my firearm out, which means I don't go in, right? It puts the burden on people who do allow guns, who have no problem with people concealed carrying. It puts a burden on them because they now have to produce signage in order to let people know. Well, I'm sorry. Once again, I think this is something that is eventually going to get thrown out. And by the way, not just for that reason, right? There's also all of the restrictions that are there. It makes places like California, some place where I literally, if 90% of the places you go, you cannot carry. So if every place becomes a sensitive place, well, then you don't really have a right to carry. And that's exactly what the Solicitor General argued. That's exactly what Gun Rights Group argued. And that's exactly where the conservatives are at. So, yeah, it's got nothing to do with private property rights because you do not lose access to your property. You lose the ability to restrict what behaviors or what sort of things can happen on your property. You do not lose any of that. You know, no shirts, no shoes, no service is still a thing, can still be a thing, right? No shirts, no service, or guns. Okay, they can make it a thing. But what they can't do is that it's not presumptive. Meaning, if you don't want that, you have to say you don't want that. And I think that if you are going to restrict the rights of other people who are coming onto your property, if you want to restrict their rights, then you should have to post a sign. Anyway, that's going to be good news. I think that once again, it's good to hear. It's not something that surprises me, but what really gets me is once again, Justice Thomas made it very clear they weren't supposed to do this, and they did it anyway. What's the ramifications? I mean, what's going to happen? When is someone going to step up and say, you know what? There needs to be some sort of politicians who clearly and knowingly violate the Constitution. How do we know they did it? Because we especially when I told you ahead of time not to do it, and you turned around and did it anyway. One has to wonder what the heck they were thinking. I know I do anyway. Okay, moving right along. In the world of the absurd, guess what? Democrats still cannot tell you what a woman is. That's right. Democrats still don't know exactly what a woman is. This failed to respond. Axios also asked whether transgender girls should be able to play girls' sports and whether children should be given puberty blockers and hormones to help them transition. Nearly 20 potential candidates were contacted. Governor Josh Shapiro of Pennsylvania, Pete Buttigieg, and Rahm Emanuel were the only ones who bothered to respond. Former Vice President Kamala Harris, basically AOC of New York, Governor J.B. Pritzker of Illinois, and Governor Gavin Newsom of California were among Democrats who declined to weigh in. Shapiro and Buttigieg, referred to their vague remarks in prior interviews about how local officials and experts should make decisions about transgender participation in sports. Both have also implied that male. I'm sorry. The thing here keeps moving in front of me, so I'm like, as stuff pops up, so I'm just trying to find my place back where I was. So both have implied that male athlete. Okay, I read that one already. Oh, Emanuel was the only Democrat who even acknowledged the question about whether men can become women. His answer to that and the question about girls in girls' sports was no. In other words, Emanuel was the only prospective Democratic candidate for president who was still willing to express views that are widely shared by the voting public. According to polling conducted last year, more than 2/3 of Americans said that gender is determined at birth. Support for banning transgender athletes in women's sports is even higher. Anyway, And here's the thing, folks. And once again, this has become a litmus test for Democrats. In other words, if you don't, you can't even say the truth. You can't even say what is obvious is that there's two genders, there's male and there's female. There's XX chromosome and XY chromosome. And you can't say that and be a Democratic candidate for president of the United States. Well, unless you're Rahm Emanuel, right? None of the rest of them are willing to say that. You can't say that only girls need to participate in girls' sports. And that's, to me, that's the lowest.